Here we go.
Smooth. Yeah.
Sup, everybody? Sup, Rebecca?
Sup, Matthew? Sup, Carrie? Sup, everybody? So the secret, I'm just noticing, Matthew, in our intro when the music was playing, I was doing my little jig and you were doing your jig, but you had your camera muted, so the little yellow Zoom box didn't come around your picture. So it was stuck on me, and my dance wasn't nearly as good as your dance. So maybe give our audience a little volume and a little bit, oh yeah. Wow, and that is a good way to start 2021. Remember how last week I said, happy 2020, everybody?
Oh, my gosh. Well, you know, like I said right after that, it just seemed like 2020 was never going to end. It was just dragging on and on and on. Oh, and finally, we're out of it, and we're in something new. And even though it's not too much different right now, we're hoping for something different. We still have that potential, right, Rebecca? I mean, there's still so much more time left in 2021 for a change to happen, for, as Teepa's been saying, a transformation, right? So we're hoping for that transformation.
Yeah, and last week was so encouraging just to hear people's kind of transition plans, I guess, so to speak, is how are we going to find our way out of this? And I know that our guest tonight has a transition plan. She has been around the block for many, many years, and we can't wait to hear her plan as well. So, Paula Levy, welcome to SUP. SUP, Paula.
Sup?
Thank you so much for having me.
So, thank you for being here, Paula. So tell us a little bit about you and what you do in your part of the world, because you are in, oh, let me do this correctly. Let me do this in the PAC way. So I am currently in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and you are?
I am in Woodland Park, Colorado.
Awesome. So what do you do in Woodland Park, Colorado? Tell us about your story.
Sure. I have been in Woodland Park for about 21 years, and the last 5.5, I have been running my own nonprofit adult day program.
Ooh, how did that get started? Because you weren't always in day programming, I don't think, but you've had a long history in senior care.
I have, and it mostly Alzheimer's dementia care. I started in college. I thought I was going to be a nutrition major and thought I could do chemistry, and thought again real quickly after my first chemistry class in college, and then went to look for a new major. And so I grabbed the catalog book, because that was back in the old days when there was not a lot online, and found the major leisure science. Recreation. And so that was very inviting, because it was very interesting classes like leadership and badminton and folk dancing and those kinds of things. But then I also had my emphasis, my focus in the geriatrics and gerontology. And so with that, my field works were focused on seniors, and the first one was with healthy seniors in a senior center in Colorado Springs. And then the next summer I went into the nursing home setting and really fell in love with the geriatric patient. And that again was before Alzheimer's was a hot commodity in nursing homes, before units were really widespread. And so I graduated college. I went back to that nursing home as an activities assistant, and they had just put secure doors up at the end of a hallway and called it an Alzheimer's unit. And they needed someone to go back there and do something with those folks. And I raised my hand and closed the door behind me and never looked back.
I love that. So you knew at some point you're like, this is definitely my passion. I definitely want to work with seniors, and then really even narrowed that focus even more to those living with dementia and other
I really
Alzheimer's
did.
and other forms of
I
dementia.
was 22 and I had never really known anyone with dementia per se. I don't have it in my family. I have an aunt that lives with it now for about 4 years now, but no one, immediate family that has had it. And at 22 fell into that unit and really found my calling. So, and I've been doing it for 32 years. So.
Wow. I don't think the math is right there. You were 22 and 30 years. No. I think you're adding some years to your history. So what are you said you actually, did you start this adult day program? Tell us about that.
I did. So I worked in long-term care for about 10 years before my husband and I moved up to Woodland Park and started a family, and which took me out of full-time long-term care setting, but I wanted to stay in the mix, so I volunteered for the Alzheimer's Association by facilitating their caregiver support groups, and I still do that today in our community. I facilitate the caregiver support groups for the Alzheimer's Association, and out of those groups really grew my adult day program because I had some attendance and it really fluctuated. People wanted to come, but they couldn't because they didn't have any place for their loved one. And so our community really had minimal senior services. And I was serving on different boards, and I thought, our community needs an adult day program. And I just found a little house and I just took the plunge, and with the support of my husband and this community totally embraced the idea with in-kind donations and monetary donations. We were up and running in less than a year from the time I applied for the nonprofit. And we're looking for a new building. We've outgrown our space, and we have people that travel we've crossed 3 counties. People travel from 3 counties to come and be with us in our program, and to round me back to PAC, before I had heard TIPA from my caregiver support group members, and I looked her up, but right before I was getting ready to really launch into the day program, TIPA was in Denver through the Alzheimer's Association, and I signed up and went, and it was at a church, and the room was packed, and I was riveted. I could not get enough of TIPA, and I went home and I told my husband, and I said, I've got to get certified by TIPA Snow. And that was 2014, and it was either West Coast or East Coast, and my husband said, yeah, no, that's not going to happen, because we were already hemorrhaging money for this day.
In the middle of starting a completely new business from nothing to this living, breathing thing. Yes.
And so I waited a couple months, and I looked again, and she was in Denver. And I said, oh, she's in Denver now. I don't need an airplane ticket. I twist his arm, and I got it. I got to go. And there was 4 people in the trainer certification.
Wow.
And it was basically one-on-one with TIPA Snow. It was
just for a frame of reference for those of our viewers who haven't been to a certification course. We do actually max out those courses at 25 because we want it to be personal. We want to really have a lot of mentor one-on-ones and small group exercises. But my goodness, you got to go when there were only 4 people there. That is a lot of one-on-one attention with TIPA. So it sounds like all these things were really coming together, Paula, that you thought this is something that my community needs, and the community really rallied around you. Really, you said, I really feel like we need this PAC training, and then boop,
Boom.
one showed up in your area. Wow.
And so many things happened like that. It just told me and others it was meant to be. So
you actually started the program, it's called Daybreak,
mm-hmm.
an adult day program,
Mm-hmm.
right? Did I get that right?
Yep.
Yes. And so you started that, what year was that?
I found the building in 2014, and that was in May of 2014, and we opened the doors May of 2015.
Wow. And so you got your first certification was trainer. Is that correct?
Right.
And so tell us how you've taken what you learned at your PAC trainer, getting certified as a PAC trainer, and how you've implemented that into the work at Daybreak.
So my team that works with me, they all are trained by me with TIPA's train the trainer, and my volunteers, our volunteer program. So I've got a team. I have an assistant, and then I have 2 activity assistants and then I have my administrative assistant who is also training to be a CNA. So it's all very cross training. They all have TIPA training. All the volunteers get TIPA training. Our volunteers are really the meat of our program. And we have volunteers from age 2 to 85 are our volunteers. And they do everything from arts and crafts to banjo to swimming with us to just visiting to outdoor games to everything. So our volunteers even get TIPA training. And it's extended to the community too. So I've trained our police department. I've gone into our fire department and trained them. I've trained our police department in Cripple Creek, which is just a little town west of us. And I've also extended that into Castle Rock, which is a town in between Denver and Colorado Springs. So I can't get TIPA's message out enough.
It sounds like you're certainly trying.
Yes.
Well done.
Yes.
Well done, my friend. So I'm curious if you can share a little bit when you're talking about volunteers, because SUP, so this show, Straight Up Positive, it goes out on TIPA's social media platforms. So it's not necessarily for folks who are in the certified community, though we hope you guys are watching. But this is about just general awareness. So when you talk about volunteers being a part of the really the meat of the program, can you tell us, I mean, you gave us some examples. What does it take to be a volunteer in a program like this? And I know people often think, I would love to get involved, but I don't know what, and especially now with COVID. And we talked last week with TIPA a lot about this transition plan and certainly some of the resistance that folks might have to reaching out to a program like yours. So I think there's probably like 50 questions in that one, kind of all balled in there. But what are your thoughts on, or what can you share about the role of a volunteer in a program like yours and how you've worked with COVID and that challenge?
Sure. Well, to start with, when our program took off, we got some press, in our little newspaper. We got some spots on the news, and people just came. So honestly, I have never solicited for volunteers. They have just come, and that includes our intergenerational with the high school internship program. They have connected with us. The K kids have connected with us, and so we have created a program that is inviting for them to seek us out. Our music volunteers have sought us out, and so we're just fortunate. We even have a volunteer beautician that comes twice a month and does their hair for no cost. She does haircuts, and we've just been really fortunate. as far as COVID and volunteering, we obviously had to close our doors back in March. We did write a variance because we consider ourselves an essential business, just as child daycare is an essential business. We have working children who care for their parents and have to be at work from 9 to 5, and we need to be open for their loved ones or with us more than they're with at home. So we wrote a variance, we got reopened, and then the second spike hit. When we reopened, we could not have anybody else in our program, just our staff and the people. The families couldn't even come in to check them in. We had to check them in from the car, and volunteers were dying to get back to us. So we did not bend the rules, but we did some outside visitation with our pets. The pets weren't masked, but their owners were masked, and we did pet therapy outside in our backyard. We did music out in our backyard so we could social distance. So we did make connections even though we couldn't be inside our building. And then of course the weather turned. We did have to close again in November. And so we got creative, and now we're Zooming activities into their home. And we actually have volunteers that are coming here so that we're Zooming from a familiar space. Nice. Our banjo man is coming every Friday and playing an hour for our folks from daybreak so they see a familiar space, and we're Zooming into their home. Our piano player comes every Tuesday and plays our piano, and we go into their home. So we're trying to, and those are volunteers that just said, yes, we'll do it. We'll come and provide activity for your folks. So they're really chomping at the bit to get back to
it's normal. So interesting. It really sounds like, I mean, you had this idea, it was a need, but people are drawn to it because you're doing a good thing. And there's many programs out there that are doing good things. And I don't know if your community is just uniquely special, but it sounds like people, I mean, the fact that you've never had to solicit a volunteer, can you even imagine, guys? Like, that is insane. You've never even had to solicit a volunteer. That is so cool to hear that people really want to be a part of your program because you're doing such a powerful thing. And that's just amazing, Paula. Like, I know I'm reading in the comments, people are ready to start like a Paula Levy fan club, because this is just so inspiring and such a great way to start off kind of a follow-up of last week, which was, how are we transitioning? And I'm wondering if you could tell our viewers a little bit about what has it been like for the people who benefit from your services, those who are living with dementia and their care partners. What has having those services taken away due to COVID? Have you noticed any negative effects? Because I know Tipa talks a lot about social isolation, and it sounds like if someone came to your program for months and then to not have it, that would leave a big gaping hole in their day, in their world.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we closed, our program's tiny. It's a 1,000 square foot house, so we are limited to 5 people at a time. That's what the state square footage ratio allows us to have 5 participants at a time. So we, again, got creative. We have people that come in the morning, leave at lunch. We have someone that comes at lunch and takes their spot for the rest of the day. So before COVID, we were full. We had a wait list. We had an on-call wait list of people already in the program that would come. If someone doesn't show up, please call us. We'll bring them in. And so when we had to close, we had a wait list, so we were overflowing with participants. When we closed from March to August, we lost 9 participants. Ugh. 5 died, not necessarily COVID related, but 5 passed away. 2 had to be placed in facilities because their family member could not continue without the respite that we were able to provide.
Sure.
And 2 had to relocate to other family members that could better help and care for them, because the ones that were here providing the care just couldn't keep doing it 24/7 without a respite break.
So in a sense, your services were kind of helping hold together the care situation that folks were in, with maybe family members who worked or needed a break from time to time. And so that teamwork, that collaboration was making it possible. When that wasn't there anymore, they had to look for other options.
Absolutely. And really, you know, the foundation of a day program is really to prevent the premature nursing home placement, really to provide the respite so that the caregiver can get the break and recharge, refresh, regroup. Their loved one can have a day out to create community, to have meaningful activity, and then they can come together and be at home longer than just throwing your hands up and saying, I can't do this anymore, I'm going to place you. So it really extends the person's time at home to be able to go to a day program or a respite care program, because it just allows a break for everyone, and this sustains them for longer care partnering. So.
Yeah. One of my favorite Tipa-isms, and I'm absolutely positive that I will not get it exactly right, and so Tipa can text me and tell me I messed it up. There's something that she says, and Matthew, maybe or Carrie, maybe you guys have heard this, but it's when my dementia grows, or my dementia gets bigger, that we want spend less time with me, she says, so that you can love me more. And the visuals, because she always does these great visuals. When my dementia gets bigger, spend less time with me so that you can love me more. And it's not this sense of, being overwhelmed in the care situation. So I noticed nobody's hopping on to help me with that. So sorry, Tipa, if I got it wrong.
It's true, because I've 32 years, and I know others have been in it long enough to have seen the care partner die trying to take care of their loved one, because they haven't taken the break, they haven't taken care of themselves, because everything has been poured into their person living with dementia, and they haven't looked at what's going on with their own bodies. And I've seen it more than once where the care partner dies, and then what happens? And that's the last thing that they would have ever wanted for their person, is to be left without their care. So it's hard.
Right. Oh, no, that's such a great point. So even that idea that it's not that I'm being selfish, but that I don't want you to be left without the care that I am providing. I've never really heard it put that way, Paula. That's a really neat perspective. Is it, because I think a lot of times care partners have this sense of, I have to do it all because, there's this sense of obligation or whatever it is that drives us to do that. And yet, if I don't take care of myself, this idea of that I'm out of the picture altogether, then what does your care look like at that point?
Mm-hmm. And then you have no control. Then you have no control,
Yeah, so thank you for phrasing it that way. So a lot of times in PAC, we talk about personality traits and learning styles, and it's something I'm really focusing on in 2021, and I'm a processor. So you'll laugh to know that I'll probably email you in a couple of days thinking about this concept that you just brought to light. I love it. So speaking about certifications, you got trainer certified, and then you said that's not enough, and you went back, and it sounds like you got another certification. Tell us about that.
Well, I did. I carried trainer certification. I recertified, and I love it. And then the beginning of last year, after the first conference, I spoke with Carolyn and really was interested in the consultant certification, because that's with my care giver support group facilitation. I really thought that would be a good fit. And so I was signed up the beginning of 2020 to go to San Diego in March and do my consultant certification, and that all went out the window. So I took a rain check, and when everything went virtual with PAC, I was determined to get it finished before the end of the year, despite a lot of things that were going on in my personal life. And I barreled through, and I did it, and I completed it with, started with Jessica, completed it with Alejandro, and had my consultant certification by October, and then kept digging in and saw the advanced consultant certification, which I start tomorrow, and I'm just thrilled about it. I'm just thrilled. So it's
That's
just
so exciting.
really a good fit. It's a really, really good fit for me. So
You just can't get enough. I love that. So if anyone that's watching is attending that advanced consultant certification with Paula tomorrow, why don't you write a little message down in the notes below so she can look forward to, yeah, because we do have that offering this week. And I know a lot of people who have mentioned, I'm doing that course, and I can't wait to hear, because I was one of the initial folks who went through that advanced consultant certification, and I love it. And we actually talked about it a few weeks ago with folks, and I know we've got Cheryl and Missy who do that as well. They'll talk about their partnership using those advanced consultant certification skills. And you actually said to me when we talked before the show that your support group attendees started noticing some changes in the way that you ran the support group after getting that certification. Can you tell us about that?
yeah, so the agenda that I love, that I have, that my bag of tricks, my solving everyone's life problems in dementia world, and feeling really proud about that, kind of went out the window with the consultant certification, which was actually refreshing, to see the pieces of the puzzle, to put it back on them, to know that they have the answers, that I don't have to lug around my big bag of tricks and have them think I'm a pathological liar, like right off the tip of my tongue, because I come up with things so fast. But it just reframed a lot of the way I hold my groups, a lot of the way I approach people not even in my dementia arena, which is really interesting, because the gem, everyone's a gem, I look at everyone in a gem state now, not just my participants. And it's just really interesting how it just opened the whole view up.
Yeah. We hear that a lot on SUP about just this idea that, yeah, these are really good skills to learn for working with someone living with dementia, but almost everyone that comes on this show talks about ways that they use these skills in their everyday life. And it's really interesting to me to hear that, because you've been doing the support group for so many years, that they really know you, they know your style, and that even they were able to say, all right, Paula, what's different? What are you doing? And a lot of times in PAC, we talk about that, know your agenda, but put it in your back pocket. You said you had your agenda, you actually threw it out the window. You're just like, I'm done with it.
And so one thing I didn't mention too was that I've done several sessions, TPA sessions with my care partners in my support groups. I've done trainings with them, and one of them is the GEM training, to help them see their person in not stages, but in GEM states. And I think I shared with you that I also give out these little GEM things, danglies, that have a GEM color of each of the GEM states, so that they actually have something to tackle, to see and hold and to take with them.
Oh, and you give those to your participants?
I give them to the GEM participants, the people that in my GEM workshops, so that, and I just went to Walmart and got the little stones and made these. So there's the sapphire, diamond looking, emerald. Amber's hard to find, but ruby, and then the pearl-like thing. And everyone walks out with a little reminder and visual of the gem states, and they can have it on their dash or make a keychain out of it or whatever.
I have a feeling people are going to contact you about a couple of things, Paula, because what happens often on Straight Up Positive is people will contact afterward and go, oh, I want to know more about this. And a couple of things that I have a feeling you're going to get follow-up on is, can I see a picture of that gem trinket, that giveaway? And also the work that you've done with first responders, because that is something that our certified community is often seeking more information about. So thanks for coming on the show, because this probably doesn't end tonight. You're probably going to hear from more people.
Sure.
And you mentioned, Paula, this conference.
Yes.
You said that you went to conference last year when it was in person in North Carolina. Oh, it was so good and so nice to be together. And then this year it was virtual, and it was so good and it was so great. And we were still able to connect and learn a lot. And you actually connected with someone that you found out you had a shared past with.
Amazing.
And the cool thing is, she's actually how we heard about you, Paula, because I haven't had the pleasure of working with you, and Matthew hasn't had the pleasure of working with you. Carrie hasn't had the pleasure of working with you. But we had an email from someone in our certified community, Laura, who said, you guys have to get Paula on the show. And turns out that she was right, because you've already started a fan club tonight. So let's bring Laura in and tell us a little bit about how you guys connected at a virtual conference and then figured out that you actually had a shared past. So Laura, are you there? Come on, come on, come on. Hey, what's up, Laura?
What's up? This is so great. It's so great to hear Paula really talk about what she does, because it is so incredible. Yeah, it's just so incredible. Yeah. So I'll say that my connection with Paula just started actually when I was 28 years old. I'm 66 now. So this was a long time ago too. And it was, my mom had dementia, was diagnosed with Alzheimer's in 1984. I was, what would I have been? I would have been around 27 or so. I'm terrible with numbers. Everybody knows that. By the time we finally realized that she was been living alone and we needed to do something about it, we put her into really by force. I knew nothing about Alzheimer's. I knew nothing about how to be with somebody with dementia. It was pretty horrible. We did pretty illegal things to throw her into a nursing facility. And Paula, I think you were working there then, wasn't it, in 1988?
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a testament to Paula. Is our mother was in there for I'm not sure how long, maybe a couple of years before she moved to this other facility, but she was really not doing so well in the first facility, mostly because I think we had put her through terrible trauma to get her in there. We just knew nothing. And she was to live many, many years past that. She died in 98. But she was very weird in the nursing home there. I mean, she was really unhappy. She was restless. She was, we had no concept of how to handle her at all. And I think one of the things that changed for me was one day I was visiting her, and I wasn't visiting that much because I was living in New Mexico, but when I did visit her, it was very upsetting. And I didn't know how to talk to her, and I'd only known her as a mother and not somebody that I really thought of as a friend, to tell you the truth. We didn't get along very well. But one day I got so fed up, I said, I'm going out and have a cigarette. And she said, oh, I'm going too. But that's the first nice thing you've said to me in years. We went out into the outside part, and I lit up a cigarette, and my mom just took it right out of my hand, and she started smoking, like, pff, such a relief, such a relief. And I realized that was a turning point for me to realize, wow, this is still a person in front of me. This isn't a disease. And that was a really remarkable thing for me to realize that, oh my God, I don't know this woman at all. She's not my mother, but who is she now? And then my mom was transferred because of my little sister who was there more constantly. She lived in town. She transferred my mother to Namaste, a home up in a more exclusive part of the neighborhood, which was good because the other place was getting very crowded. And Paula was there. And Paula, you began running that Namaste. Is that correct?
I think, yeah, the last part of my time there, I
Yes.
running it. Mm-hmm.
And my testament to Paula is, whatever happened, my mother changed so radically within 1 year of being at Namaste. She did lose her language there, and she started laughing, and then she started humming, but she became this person who was wide open. And it was because she was in Namaste, and which was just an amazing place, and being looked after by people like Paula, that I believe she started really trying to communicate with us without language. And she was the one that taught me that verbally is just almost no way to communicate with somebody when you really want to communicate on a deep level. Showed me an alternative to that kind of communication. Communicate. And
so even back before Paula was PAC certified, it sounds like she had some really good skills and was doing some great work.
And the other people at Namaste, but she in particular she was doing something, and I could feel the difference in my mother. And by the end of the time, this mother, who I had never been able to really touch or kiss very well, let alone to communicate with through intellectual, I was able to lie in bed with her and pet her like a rabbit, and the two of us not talking and just being together. And so it was really special. And so I knew something special had happened by the time she died in 1998. I think that's right. Yeah, 98. I have my notes here. By the time she died, I knew that something had happened, and I called myself a dementia expert then, but I knew nothing. I just knew how to be with my mother. I did do hospice I did hospice for years after that, until a couple of years I stumbled on Teepa on a late night YouTube cruising, and completely was smitten. I thought, oh my God, everything my mother taught me, Teepa knows, and she knows how to do it, but she knows how to do it, why it works. And I had never known anything about that. I had just known that I connected with my mother in a way I never had throughout my life. It was the most.
So it sounds like you, if someone's hearing this story, they're thinking Paula and Laura have been friends since 1998. But that's not actually the case. So who found who first on the conference?
So
Paula,
I'm really not a Facebook stalker, but I was. So I saw Laura do her hand demonstration, how you could do the hand under hand to yourself. And I thought, wow, that was really cool. I want to check her out. I want to maybe connect with her. And then I started stalking. I'll be honest. I started stalking, and I thought, gosh, that last name is kind of familiar. And so then I started clicking on her and scrolling down, and there was her and her mother, Nippy. Her mom's nickname was Nippy, Anita, but they called her Nippy. And there she was, and I was like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me?
Wow.
I messaged her and said, I just saw you at the conference. I took care of your mom for years.
Wow.
And then we zoomed. We've zoomed a couple times. I almost, if it wasn't for COVID, I would have spent some time with her over New Year's because I was in New Mexico seeing my relatives. But we just connected.
I just love that. So you went to the conference. This was a virtual conference. You saw some skill that Laura was demonstrating in her hand under hand with herself, and you're a little bit detective-y. We won't call it stalker, but you're like, that lady's got some skills. I'm going to find out more about her, only to find out that, oh my goodness, we have this shared past. Matthew, my heart first co-host. I told you this story was going to get you in all of your feels.
I want to start singing. So cool? It's a small world after all. It's a small world after all. Oh my gosh. It is amazing, just especially in any part of the world, that two people can be connected at one point, disconnected for a while, and then reconnected in such a way. And this is awesome. This is like that whole true testament of it's a small world, right? Because no matter how big the world truly is, we're all connected in some way, shape, or form. And it's if we're willing to reconnect or willing to see those connections, do we actually get to do that? And you guys totally took advantage of that. And that is so awesome. And I love that detective skills.
Yeah. So Matthew, it's not dissimilar to me and you. I mean, our partnership and our co-hosting the SUP thing is kind of like the start to a bad joke, like a social worker from Mississippi and a therapist from Kansas walk into a, I don't know, like a whatever, take it from there. Like how this partnership, and man, you're so fun to co-host this with. And so thank you. I'm so glad we connected through PAC, and these ladies connected through PAC. We've got some other folks who connected through PAC. I'm so in my feels tonight.
Yeah, so awesome. So if Cheryl and Missy would join us on Welcome to SUP again, SUP ladies.
It's good to be
back. You guys
back.
Can't get enough of us. Thank you for returning.
I know, totally. So we just got a chance to hear Paula and Laura kind of talk about their connections and how that happened. So tell us again, how did this connection happen between Missy and Cheryl, the Missy and Cheryl duo that we have here? Tell us more about that.
We were on the advanced consultant course together virtually. And after completing it, I had this great bag of tricks and this great program, and I'm also a processor planner, so I couldn't move off the mark. I saw that Cheryl had posted an advertisement that she's ready to roll with her course, so I decided to be a participant in her course. Well, it turned out after the first session that she needed another PAC person to help co-facilitate the group. It really works better that way. And I will just happen to be in the wings, in the ranks. And that is how we started. That's how we met, was through the certification, and how we connected was just through circumstances in the launch of her first caregiver support group.
So cool. And Cheryl, so how did you throw that advertisement out there? How did you throw that ask out there for someone to help with what you were doing, that co-facilitator? I'm curious.
Well, I didn't ask. I actually had my marketing assistant help me, because I thought, well, she's young and she knows Zoom and she can take care. She'd set all the adverts, she'd done the website, she'd done the Care Partner Support Series, Eventbrite. She'd done all of that. So I thought, well, okay, I'll do the facilitator bit and she can do the support bit. But it was a God thing that Missy actually came on, because my first series would have been a complete failure without her. So Missy was a participant, but I immediately had problems with Zoom, and my marketing assistant was unable to help me. And on week 1, Missy actually jumped on and took over the Zoom and started doing the video on week 1. And she was so gracious, and she just made it natural. She covered it incredibly well, so I wasn't completely embarrassed with all the other people that were with me on the Zoom series. And then week 2 came along, and I thought, okay, my person, I thought, let's give it another go. And it was an even worse disaster than the first week. And it was just horrible. And again, Missy jumped in. There was no preparation. We hadn't prepared this. She just jumped in and we just got to the end. And I remember thinking, this is so bad, I'm actually just going to stop it. 3 times I was just, oh, this is just too much. But somehow we got to the end. And then I thought, that's it. I don't make the same mistake 3 times. And then I rang Missy up. I said, Missy, please, will you join me and work with me together on the Care Partner Support Series, because I have clearly proven how not to do it.
Well, and when you're in that presentation mode, we all know we go quickly from sapphire to diamond, and then something doesn't work right, and our amygdala takes over, and we just freeze. So Cheryl said we weren't prepared, but truly we were. I just was in a position to be able to have more flexibility, and I had the materials because of the training. So it really was a great opportunity to partner up.
Yeah, I think I'm very lucky.
That's amazing. And, and I know, Cheryl, it's so easy because I do the same thing, to be like, everything was just a failure. It just did not go well at all. I totally showed people how not to. But with PAC, we're so much about, hey, so you tried this thing out, right? And we want to know what things went well, but we also want to know what that one thing you want to do or to try a little bit different. And so it seems like one of those things that you came up with was that, hey, this Missy lady really seems to have her stuff together, and boy, she's been a great support. So I think I'm going to try incorporating her into what I'm doing so we can start really bringing this together. So that's so awesome. And then in Missy, in true PAC style, showing that support, seeing where there was a need, and offering and giving that need there to help out. And it, again, we talk so much about how a lot of what we learn, we're talking about folks living with brain change or living with dementia, but really it can be used in so many ways, in so many different avenues and places. And it can be used in helping to support each other, especially within the certified community. So that is so awesome. And so that's that connection piece that brought you guys together. Is there more to that? So how did that grow from there after you guys like, hey, this is working out here, we need to keep this a partnership? How did it grow from there?
I was just going to say that at the end of those session 1, Missy stayed online with me, and all I had to say was negative. There was nothing positive for me, and she dragged out something positive.
Give me 2 things. What are your 2 things?
I was on the floor by that point, but each time she dragged out something positive, because, we talked about different styles, and I am the kind of person that launches headlong into something and gets it going. And I kind of learned that the hard way. But we're now on Care Partner Support Series on our 4th one. And we've got a great group. It's our biggest group. We've got 10, 11 people on it, which is a challenge for us because we're now going to have to do breakout rooms, and, not everybody gets to talk all the time. And, we've just continued. It's a very easy working relationship with Missy. We kind of divvy up the work. She's really good at getting people signed up for it. I'm more the email person that does the emails. And I mean, this last weekend, I didn't know it, but Missy was of the point that if you didn't join week 1, it was really hard to continue with it. So really, if somebody's not able to make it, we kind of do makeup sessions. And she actually ran 2 makeup sessions for 3 people that couldn't make week 1 last week. So that's incredible. And so if people can't make week 2, it'll be me that it's my turn to do the makeup for week 2.
You're on. Although it was really a privilege, because when you have a big group in the Care Partner Support Series, and for those of you, Paula, you're getting ready to start that, and those that are listening, you really do want to hear from everyone because they become more vested. So it really was a privilege for me to be able to spend some small group time. And I actually did a 3rd one today. So that's not going to turn the profit margin, but that's not why we do what we do anyway. So, but just really, truly knowing that people are letting us enter their stories. And we are able to help them shift to a more positive approach to this journey, which is a really hard journey, but it doesn't have to be a devastating one.
So true. And it's amazing the work that you guys are doing out there, and all of the support that you're giving. And again, in true PAC style, you guys show really truly what PAC is all about. It's the relationship, it's being curious, it's getting connected, and no matter whether it's working with one-on-one or groups or even with each other, helping to continue this mission of just supporting others and giving them that care with care, as Tipa will say. And so that is so awesome. And so I'm wondering, and this is kind of the large group question that I'm about to throw out here. So we're hearing all about these awesome connections. And in some ways, these connections will happen by circumstance, but we all truly know that it doesn't continue without some kind of willingness or some kind of like, oh, I'm going to look into this further. Just like Paula doing her detective work and looking a little bit further into Laura and seeing that connection, and Cheryl doing her piece, and Missy seeing where there could be support needed. And so she jumped in there and she helped out. And Cheryl could have been like, hey, great, thanks for the help. And that could have been it. But no, she's like, hey, come join me. Let's do something with this. This is awesome. So what advice would you guys have? And we'll start with Paula. What advice would you guys have for our folks out there who might struggle with this whole connection piece? Like, they want to make connections and maybe they see pieces there to make connections. Like, for instance, Rebecca and myself, I threw a post out there about doing something of a giveaway, and Rebecca jumped in and connected with me and asked, hey, I have some ideas. I'd love to talk with you about this. And we kept going, and look where we are now. So what advice would you have, Paula, for folks out there who want to make those connections and maybe see those opportunities, but aren't sure really how to take that?
Well, I think the virtual world has helped with a lot of that. At conference, I was there. I didn't know Rebecca was there. There were so many people there at that very first conference, and I made a lot of neat connections. But the connections I made, obviously, virtually at the second conference, I think virtually it helps to be able to get in the chat, to reach out, to detective work a little bit. And the worst someone could do is not respond or say, you know what, yeah, I'm not interested. And it's not as rejection, it's not in your face rejection. It's like on the screen rejection, and you can go, okay, whatever. But Laura and I connected, and we immediately set a Zoom date, and we stayed connected, and she reached out to her sister Jane, who was the main care partner during her mom's time at Namaste, and that's the sister that I really was close to, and it just kind of rolled out from there. So I think just take the step, just find the person that seems intriguing and interesting to you, and make the connection. Like I said, it's easy to do. Email, chat, messenger, just take the chance, because the worst you can do is not get a response.
Right. So get out there, take that chance. And the virtual world helps to make that a little bit easier, because the worst that's going to happen is they don't respond.
Yep.
You don't hear something back from them. And so take that chance.
Or they find you in their mailbox like 3 weeks later and say, I'm so sorry. No problem.
Laura, how about you? What advice do you have for folks out there on making those connections, taking that leap to make those connections?
Well, I would so agree with Paula. And from my own lessons that I had to learn all the hard way when my mom was ill is I wish I had realized that there was a team behind my mother. And what my mom was able to give to me was because people were being kind and open to her. So she turned it on to me. And I would say anybody who's involved, doesn't have to be Positive Approach to Care, but anyone who's involved with dementia, you find out who your team is and you try and reach out to them. If we had had a team in my family, I had a lot of sisters, and if we had had a team going, we could have actually helped each other. As it was, we couldn't help each other. We were all alone in that. And it, just like Teepa said, you know, there was, out of 5 families, 1 family survives. And we were one of the ones that really didn't survive that very well, in my opinion. But I think we could have, if we had reached out and pulled in other people who knew stuff. Of course, that was a long time ago. Nobody knew what Alzheimer's was. Nobody knew anything about it or how to deal with it. Our mom taught us about dementia. But I would say reach out and try and get other people involved. I mean, I just so wish I'd known Paula then. Oh, anyway, I'm glad I know her now. Yeah.
Yeah, that's such a great point, because we do bring this up quite a bit. It's not a lone wolf situation. You can't go in this by yourself. It is so hard. There's so much stress, so many things that you have to do. And then on top of that, if you're not taking care of yourself, what that ends up doing to you and what that can cause to you, and how hard it is then to care for somebody who really needs it when you're barely taking care of yourself. And so it's not a lone wolf thing. It's a teamwork. You got to get that team in place and bring those folks together. Very good point. Great idea. Cheryl, how about you? What would be your advice for making those connections out there and taking that leap?
I think I probably didn't know the benefit of taking the leap, you know, especially with working with Missy. You know, I hadn't really thought about a partnership until it happened naturally. But now it's happened naturally. I mean, I've benefited so much. What I would say is, I think you find a common theme with other people. I'm very practical. So for me, it's about, do people have the same ideas? Do people do what they say they're going to do? And that's really important. It's got to go both ways. You've got to help one another. And does that other person generally have the need to help other people that are caring for people with dementia? That's ultimately what we're here for. And I personally am stronger because of the teamwork. So just the ideas, and you know, there's other people that I know that I don't partner in the same way with Missy, but I know I can pick up the phone if I've got a question or a situation. And there's, you know, there's definitely strength in being part of a team. It's probably I've only really developed in the last 6 months.
I love that. So you're talking about how when you have this connection going, recognizing the strengths of the people on the team and how to bring those together and to utilize those when you notice areas maybe that you're not so strong in, you know, oh, I can pull from these people. I can talk to these folks, and how that can be a benefit. And then that whole flip side of, but I need to be open to their things as well and bring those in and show value and give that reflection back to give them that when we're doing this as a team. And it can't be just a one-way street of, okay, I'm going to make the decisions. Yeah, you can tell me stuff, but really it's going to be whatever I decide. So those connections, keeping them strong by bringing in the strengths of each team member and valuing everything everybody has to bring to the table. That's awesome. How about you?
Yeah, especially for, you know, consultants and trainers that got their own little business and doing it all by themselves. It's really easy to be, you know, narrow-minded in your own little world. And you think you're doing okay until you learn about what other people are doing. Think, oh, I didn't even think about that. So
cool. How about you, Missy? What's your advice for those folks out there for connections and making that leap?
I would say reach out to other PAC certified community, whether it's Facebook, whether it's sending your presentation to somebody like Laura who says, Missy, that's a lot of content on the slide. Remember, we can only retain 5 things. And having that peer, the peer connection is truly a great way to hone your skills, to explore things that you don't see, to reflect on personality, learning styles, and just to grow. So That's would be my suggestions is take advantage of our family in the PAC world.
So cool. Yeah. Recognizing that when you join PAC, and really the way it should be when you join anything, it shouldn't be just, okay, I did this and now I'm all by myself. Again, it's that team piece, and PAC does such an awesome job of creating so many avenues for folks to stay connected and keep those connections and get that support, whether it's the practice time on Fridays or the free certified community webinar events and the TIPA for 10 and the live at 5s and SUP, all of those things that are out there just to help support the community and to just keep things going. And it's just amazing. It's not just a one and done. Okay, you did your certification, that's it. So that's such a great point, Missy, throwing out there. Use all of those pieces that are out there to help support you. Take advantage of those, and don't be afraid to. So that is so awesome.
Yeah, and along that same kind of line, Missy, what a great way to just kind of wrap this up. But I implore you guys, anyone watching, anyone that listens to this later, even if it's 6 months later and you stumble across this on YouTube, if there is something that we can do as a PAC certified community to build community, I mean, that's what SUP is all about. SUP is straight up positive. It is about Paula and Laura and Cheryl and Missy's of the world, of our community, who are rocking it out there. And otherwise, people wouldn't have had the opportunity to hear that. So we decided to start SUP just so that people could hear your story and could hear what rock stars you are. But if there's other things, we're open to doing new things in 2021. What can make our community stronger? Because this is an industry that can be trying, and this is hard work, but we all do it because we know what we do it for at the end of the day. But anything that PAC can do to help support you, we want to do that. So keep the ideas coming. I've been getting emails of people suggesting others for SUP, and that, like, nothing makes my heart happier than just to hear you guys kudosing each other, because you really are doing great work. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for being on. Thank you for your time.
Yes, thank you guys so much. We really appreciate you all. And remember, just like we're talking about here, we're all here to support you. And another way, those feedback surveys too. Rebecca gave us some great options. Go on there and use that feedback survey as well. Please, if you're a little hesitant about sending that email out directly to us, you can do it anonymously through the feedback surveys and give us information that way too. Whatever you can do to tell us how we can best support you, let us know. So thank you guys so much.
Support you. I like that. Nice job. So, hey, speaking of support, Carrie, Matthew, want to do this again next Tuesday, same time? Sound good?
My heart says yes.
See you next week, everybody. Stay well, everybody.